Just move this thing here.
Yeah, I know.
All righty, guys. Come on back. Come on back. All right. So let me share my screen. Come on, share.
Monday?
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Wala.
I might need to mute.
Yeah.
Giovanni, you're on mute.
Yeah.
I mute everybody. Mute my audio. I can mute mine, but it's not letting me mute all of you. So here, hold on, let me. Okay, so. All right, everybody, my name is Army. It's short for Armand, but that's too hard for people to say. Everybody wants to call me Armand, and it just drives me nuts. So I go by Army. And I'm a certified addiction specialist. I'm in school to be the ultimate goal is to be a psych nurse practitioner, but I'm first going for my RN and my CNA. So I'm also a minor in LGBT studies. So I'm also gay myself. Look at this. And I've been gay for a long time. So I have lots of insight. If you have any questions, it's cool. And today we're going to talk about LGBTQIA, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, and asexual. All right. So defining the terms, we'll be talk a bit about the attitudes and about the LGBT communities, both from our community and towards our community, and some of the issues that they face. All right, everybody, look at your screen. This is a gay test. Are you ready? How many of you noticed the hot guy in the chair? Show hands. No, not your type, Barbara. All right. I can see you saying no. No. All right.
I identify.
All right. Okay. Good. All right. And then how many of you noticed how ugly the chair is? Yeah. If you notice the hot guy, you're straight. But if you notice how ugly the chair is, you're gay.
Oh my God.
It's a joke. All right. One thing you should know about me is I make jokes, okay?
Yes, John.
All right, so quick questions. Do you trust your healthcare provider? Say yes or no.
Yes. A little.
A little. Okay, see? Anybody not trust your healthcare provider, even though you pay them? Yeah. Irony is that you pay them and you don't trust them. But, do you trust? Now, here's a different question. Do you trust the office staff of your doctor?
Yes.
Yes. You trust them more than your doctor, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Do you feel listened to by your doctor?
Sometimes.
Nope.
Right. Well, and some of us, we drop hints versus actually just saying it flat out, and the doctors don't have imagination for hints sometimes. Do you feel like you have to educate your health team?
No.
Well, can you imagine? Sometimes. Well, can you imagine if you felt like you had to do that if they didn't know anything about your community?
Yes.
Yeah. Would that be annoying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be your job?
No.
No. Okay. So,
And it wouldn't be annoying.
it would be, especially if you had to do it every
It
single
would
time.
not be. It would not be annoying because if you want somebody to know about your community, you go educate them so they won't have myths about your community and put stigmas on your community.
Well,
So no, it wouldn't be annoying. No.
Well, if you're afraid of what the answer might be, you may let assumptions roll.
No, I'm not afraid of it.
And
Tell me the truth. Don't tell me no lie.
Thank you.
I don't do lies. Tell me the truth.
Who is that talking?
Yeah, I think that's
it 100.
Rebecca. No?
No, that's Rachel.
Okay, Rachel, you and I are of a kind. That we do not mince words, and that we're not ashamed of necessarily our behavior. But if you're in a small town, or if you're in a small community, that's going to be even harder. And if you're in a community that likes to gossip,
Everybody
It's hard,
does.
yeah.
yeah, right. And so,
But it only takes one. It takes one to break the cycle.
oh,
Yeah, it does.
It takes one to break that cycle.
well, if you
I
have
mean,
nothing
I
else to
think-
do,
I
gossip
think
is.
People are always they're scared because of the way the community is gonna judge them, the way the community was made. You know, they have like a fix and one
I mean,
way.
a lot of people, they got the same question that you got, but they just scared to ask that question. It's a lot of people, they dealing with stuff they scared. So it's have to take one person to bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
And it's
Knowledge,
true.
knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, family orientation too is different. You grow in a straight family and you're in that house, you're having issues. You
Them
don't know
people might not have been straight in their family. They were living under the blanket.
They're living under the blanket. Girl, I done heard it all.
All right. Well, hold on. Pamela brought up a good point. That, if you're brought up in an African American family, you're in that, you have that issue together, right? But if you're gay in the family and you're the only one that's gay in the family, you're not taught to advocate for yourself. You're
Might not been the only one was gay.
I'm from Africa.
Uh-huh.
You might not
But
been the only one gay.
We don't talk gay and lesbian in the house. It's a taboo.
Yeah.
If you're gay in public, you probably end up in prison or you get ostracized on the street.
Yeah, or beaten
So
to
it's
death.
not.
When them
it's not
folks in
a common-
prison, they go
That's
their
for
own
sure.
self.
Yeah. So you're at higher risk for murder.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so the context of where you live really does make a difference.
Well, what's our instructor's name? I'm Rebecca. I just have
I'm-
one question that I want to make sure that you don't forget to speak on before we end this. I'm very interested in the transgender community because even gays, even gay men and gay women still out the transgender community. And I advocate for that community and I'm trying to learn more so I can be there for a lot more people that I love and understand.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And actually, since most people at this point in culture get gay and lesbian and bisexual,
I also want to know about the pronouns.
You-
I also know
wait.
about the pronouns.
Wait a minute.
want to know about the what?
Pronouns.
Pronouns. Okay. The pronouns, it's theirs. So you got to ask them what they want to be called.
Correct.
So, yeah. So that's a personal, individual ownership thing. So, and it should be on your forms, or either officially or unofficially. Hey, so
I don't see that.
yeah, and it's an individual thing because if they may like gender neutral, they may like gender specific, they may like terms that make it sound like they're multiples, like them or they. So it's really on an individual basis, and they may feel more comfortable with one person versus another on what gender pronouns to use. So that's an individual thing. So that's something you have to ask them.
Yeah, right now I have patients who are binary and I have to call them they.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm, getting used to.
Yeah. And it does take some time to get used to. I mean, I have Filipino nurses and in the Philippines, we don't necessarily have he or she. So it comes out sometimes he or she says things to me as she, and I'm like, he. I'm a he. So I'm like, no, I didn't mean anything by it. So if your transphobia is showing from you using the wrong pronouns, then that's something different. But if you're still getting used to pronouns, that's most people will understand that and just apologize and tell them to correct you as many times as you need.
Yeah, in the facility that I work with, we had a client whose parent was transgender, female to male, and our staff continued to call him her or continued to call him the mother. And I'm like, he specifically has requested that his pronouns be he, him.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of work not to be called that. You know, it's a lot of work, a lot of money to transition, and then somebody disrespect you because they don't want to drop a letter.
Yeah, and as well, not to interrupt you, but a lot of people are not like the gentleman that I can see their faces as you speak about this and the looks on their faces. They don't even know anything about this particular thing we're talking about, really.
Yeah.
It's not their world nor their understanding.
Yeah.
And as the lady said, what's her name, Pamela? I am very much so into my African background, and you know, my people, you know, I have a couple transgenders, and they really look like women, and I feel very sorry when they're not kind. That's my issue. I don't care anything about what your transgender or what your gender is, because straight people are just as crazy. Okay. But it's just that you have to be respectful. And when you're respectful, people are more willing to be respectful to you. And we find it very hard to accept it as we call it heterosexuals, whatever that is. What you do is not who you are.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Thank you.
Your sexual preference is not who you are. Your sexual
Thank you.
preference is what you do. It's not
Thank
who you are.
well,
Because
not
if you're
only that-
kind, you're kind.
yes. Yes. And
That's my point.
yeah, and oftentimes, you know, a lot of the attitude and the negativity that you're getting from people is from trauma, from substance abuse, from them thinking that, okay, well, if I'm negative ahead of time, it's going to push people away in terms of not getting hurt and that kind of stuff. So I get what you're saying, I do, but oftentimes that's a product of the misunderstanding of our culture and society. Yeah. So I think that if you can create a safe environment for them where they feel safe, not necessarily that you know that they're safe, but they feel safe, that will open up more doors. But that's not knowing everything about your situation from what you're telling me. All right, let me move on. All right, this is a great video. It's called "To Treat Me, You Have to Know Me."
I just want to get that down.
Yeah.
To treat me, you have to know me.
It's a great video. Hold on, let me see if I can get it to share. Okay. All right, you guys seeing the video?
Not yet.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No.
All right, hold on. Let me stop the share real quick.
Is that you?
Yeah, this is me. This is what I look like. Hi.
Hi.
Aren't I cute? All right, so share this. All right, now you see it? Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let me play.
Yes.
To treat me, you have to know who I am.
All right, everybody turn up your sound. This video is a little low.
I identify as a Latina lesbian mother.
To treat me, you have to know who I am. I identify as a transgender man.
To treat me, you have to know who I am. I identify as a gay man. I was diagnosed with anal cancer, and when I'm dealing with something medical, it's extremely important that they know who I am. Every doctor I've been to, and there were 7, all of the nurses, all of the assistants, everyone treated me with respect.
It is as important to know somebody's sexual orientation, and even more than that, what their sexual scenario is, as it is to know if they're getting a good night's sleep or if they have a good appetite. or if their bowel movements are normal. It's all part of basic bodily functions that are required for a maximum quality of life.
It's important to have an open and honest relationship with your patient. And so if you do not know what their sexual orientation is or how they identify, that patient is not going to feel safe telling you everything that they need to tell you for their proper medical care.
Knowing a patient's gender identity and sexual orientation helps a practitioner to care appropriately for that patient. We see a lot of patients come in who may not be comfortable disclosing that information, and routine testing or screening may be missed for that patient.
When I was about 15 years old, I remember going into the doctor's office, and my doctor was very warm and very welcoming. She was asking me all the questions that she's supposed to ask to an adolescent, and I remember telling her when she asked about my sexual activity if if I use condoms or anything like that, and I said no, I'm gay. And I just remember her face changed very much, and her warm tone of voice turned very harsh, and it seemed as though she was rushing me out as quickly as possible.
As a lesbian, unfortunately, when I've been involved with the healthcare system, it's usually hasn't been very welcoming. It's usually assumed that I'm heterosexual, and so the questions go along that line, asking me about the need for birth control. And then I fill out forms that ask me if I'm married, single, divorced, or widowed. And none of those boxes apply to me.
I think it's very important to know that what people write on forms does not represent necessarily their reality, and it does not take the place of a provider opening the door to ask questions.
And you need to ask those questions in an open and thoughtful and caring way.
Many times the patient or client want to talk about their sexual health, but fear that they would be discriminated against or stigmatized.
There are a lot of ways that a provider could ask me questions that would make it more likely for me to disclose the fact that I'm gay than not. So I'd rather them ask me if I am in a significant relationship, if I have a partner. And then I'd like them, when they talk about other issues, to not make an assumption that because I'm gay, I don't want to talk about having kids, or that I don't want to talk about relationship issues.
My partner and I and our children were on a family vacation, and my older daughter became sick. She got stomach pains, and we had to go to the local emergency room. And we get to the hospital, and they asked who was my daughter's parents, and I said, well, she has two moms. And they were like, well, she can't have two moms, only one of you can go in. My daughter was traumatized by that. We were traumatized by that.
It's not about sensitivity, it's about respect, it's about humanitarian response to a human being in general.
My partner was hospitalized recently, a very severe aortic aneurysm. When he was being moved from intensive care to a hospital bed, the nurse in charge would not let me accompany him. I asked if I would have been allowed to accompany him if I were part of his family, and she looked the other way.
What needs to happen when a patient is admitted to a hospital is that the care providers think about the fact that the patient might have different sexual orientation or different gender identity than the care provider.
Throughout my pregnancy, I was very much genderqueer, and I did tell them about my pronouns, which ones I preferred, that I preferred gender neutral or masculine pronouns. But the people who were dealing with me throughout my pregnancy, primarily my midwife and the nurses associated with them, were not responsive to my identity and didn't actually respect it. Certainly, I felt that my healthcare has been impacted. I feel less genuinely listened to, and I feel like there's a huge discrepancy between the care I get versus other people who have gone to the same provider and report a very different experience.
You need to empathize with the patient you're talking to, give them an understanding that you care to understand who they are. That's all you need to do. You don't have to use the right words. Just be open to being educated on what right words to use and care.
I just transitioned about 4 years ago to start living as a man. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I found that my breast surgeon was unable to call me, even to give me my biopsy results. He did tell me very frankly and overtly that he had problems with my transgender status. And upon meeting me and learning of my transgender status, he decided that his first impulse was to refer me to psychiatry.
I used to work at a health center that did a lot of care for transgender patients, and there was a lot of discrimination towards those patients. There was a discomfort in talking to them. I myself had some discomfort because I didn't have much training on how to work with transgender patients.
The other day, a patient came into the office and his insurance cards identified him as Adam, although he signed the register as Emily. After being called multiple times by his birth name, he left the office.
I do think the LGBT community has special needs. I think the LGBT community has a specific special need, which is to be treated the way non-LGBT people have been treated forever, which is to be asked about their sexuality, to be asked about their quality of life, what their home situation is, what their work situation is, what their friend situation is, without the person asking the questions being afraid of what the answers might be.
Recognizing the differences of human beings and being able to address the issues and not using one ruler to measure someone else's existence or purpose in life.
My greatest hope for LGBT patients in the healthcare system is that when they go for treatment, whoever they're going to see accepts them for who they are.
Then having the people that we choose to be our families be accepted, to have them be a part of the healing process.
And the healthcare system can take care of us just like anybody else so that we can keep ourselves well and get the information that we need.
To treat me, you have to know who I am. I identify as a lesbian.
To treat me, you have to know who I am. I identify as a genderqueer, biracial, Latino parent.
To treat me, you have to know who I am, and I identify as a lesbian.
Our lives depend on your capacity to care.
All right, what you think?
Goodness.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Educational.
It was very informative.
Well, I like the fact that it talks to other communities than just gay men. So many of these videos and stories are just
Really hear you.
okay.
That so many of these videos and stories and brochures are just so dominated by gay white men that it doesn't show the full picture of what people are experiencing. And so I like this video because it's more inclusive of different identities and cultures. So, all right. Well, let me tell you a little story about me. So about 15 years ago, me and my husband moved to Hollywood, right? Hollywood, because I'm an actor also, as you can tell. And we were driving on the 101, and we came to a stop, and the next car behind us careened around the bend and slammed into us. And the ambulance came, and they were very nice to us until they realized that we were a couple. And then they didn't tell my husband where I was going, what hospital. He asked too. And when he would call around, he had a hard time finding me. And then when he got there to the emergency room, they wouldn't let him see me. And they didn't even tell me that he was there. And I kept asking for him for 6.5 hours. And it wasn't until my parents came that he was able to come into the emergency room and see me. So for 6.5 hours, he had no idea how I was. Okay. And so for me, when I thought, oh, I'm moving to Hollywood, I'm gonna have, I'm gonna be around people who are cool with people being gay. It just wasn't the case. So I became really disillusioned about even the safety nets of major cities. You think, okay, well, if I'm in a major city, they're going to be more understanding. And so I tell you the story because it still happens.
Hey, fair lady, how are you? I'm doing good. How's class going? Class is awesome. Amazing.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right, so I tell you that story just to show you, yes, it's still happening. Yes, it's happening in major cities. Yes, it's happening here in California. All right, let's fly through the sexual orientations. So sexual orientations are what you're sexually attracted to. So if you're a lesbian, you're a homosexual female. Roughly 8% of women identify themselves as fully lesbian, and that's from the Kinsey model, as well as the Masters and Johnson model that followed it. So the Kinsey is 1940s and 50s, and this Masters and Johnsons are 60s and 70s. But they mirror each other in terms of percentages. Lesbian comes from the term Lesbos. It's a Greek island, and it was sexually liberated women were in charge there, and it was home of the great Greek poet Sappho, and she wrote lots of poems to other women. And people say that they're really flowery and feminine, and I think they're kind of aggressive in terms of trying to get laid. So I do recommend reading them, though. If you can get a hold of Sappho poems, read them. Gay. So most of us understand gay. So homosexual males, roughly 10% of males identify themselves as fully homosexual, and that's also Kinsey and Masters and Johnson. I worked in HIV professionally for the last 16 years. And the biggest nut to crack is non-gay identified men who have sex with men. Let me say that again. They're non-gay identified. They do not identify as gay because of the stigma attached to it, but they're men who have sex with men. Okay, so you've heard of the down low before? Yes.
Okay, yeah, all right, good. So what that means is if you are trying to create programs and prevention models for this community, how do you reach gay men who don't think that they're gay? Aha, right? Okay. So the compromise was just to aim it towards heterosexual community, and because the information is the same, wear a condom, harm reduced with drugs and alcohol. Bisexuals. Now, bisexuals are males and females who are attracted to both males and females. Easy enough, right?
Now, 2% of males consider themselves bisexual, and 4% of females consider themselves bisexual. So if we go by males, 10% gay, 2% bisexual, that's 12%. And if you go by women, there's 8% who think that they're that are lesbian, and 4% that are bisexual, that's 12. So the interesting thing is that it's 12% and 12%. All right. Now we talked about sexual orientation, who you're sexually attracted to. Now let's talk about gender. Gender is the gender that you identify with. And the best way I could say is it's between your ears. So this is in your head, in your mind, in your being. What gender do you think you are? And transgender is an umbrella term. Aha, see, an umbrella. And it covers a lot of communities. So we have transvestites and cross-dressers. Unfortunately, transvestite and crossdresser has been around for so long, it's had a lot of negative connotations with it, but some people still identify with it. Same thing as, we have intersexed. I'll talk about that soon. Transsexual, drag queen, drag kings, genderqueer, and intersex, they've become more and more separated out of transgender, but some still qualify themselves in the transgender category.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Can you go back, please? Go back to the other screen.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the SRS, what is that?
SRS is sexual reassignment surgery. And
okay, and the HRT?
HRT is hormone replacement therapy. And there's
okay, I just didn't know the antonyms for it. That's it.
Yeah. Sexual reassignment surgery is still used within the medical community, but within the transgender community, they're leaning towards gender confirmation surgery, so that the gender that they have here becomes confirmed down below. Make sense?
With the pre-op and the post-op and the
Yeah. So preoperative, post-operative, pre-hormone, post-hormone. Because you can be transgender and never want a surgery, but you're still, yeah. And, you know, for me, when I was first working with transgender prevention populations, I would say, well, you already have 2 holes. Why add a third, right? And, you know, I'm
gonna let that go.
But, you know, it comes a lot down to what your gender confirmation, what you identify as. So.
Okay, and also, as well as speaking about, I'm sorry, everyone, please forgive me. I just had a few questions in this area. As well as you figuring out, you know, because therapy has a lot to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people think that this particular, when you start talking about your sexual orientation, people think that it's something that, you know, you grew into this learned behavior. Some people don't understand that some people have a hormone problem.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything about that as well. And then you have the transgenders that never look beautiful like a woman, are, you know, interesting. And then you have the young transgender population right now. And my biggest issue with all of this is why I'm asking so many questions, is that you do know that there are parents like me and most of the parents here that have children that we chung upon because of ignorance and not knowing, to be clear.
Yeah.
That your kid is really identifying with a girl.
Yeah. Or they could be on,
and you have,
or they may not be, they may not actually be going to, because trans is kind of a
no, listen to me, but no, I understand that at a young age we're going to let it go, but as they start to develop and get older and double age, 13, 14, 15, they start saying, hey, I want to have a sex change. And I'm talking about these kids whose parents no longer want to deal with them because, you know, once young adults turn 18, they basically are on their own. And it's a lot of college students. Let's talk about that population. A lot of college students are having surgeries.
Yeah.
And a lot of girls are having surgery, more so than ever. A lot of females are having surgery now.
Yes.
And they're young. The population is under 25.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, how are you what are you learning about that as you call community?
Yeah. Well,
That's what I want to touch on before you.
Okay. Well, progesterone, there's estrogen, which is the female hormone, and there's testosterone, which is the male hormone. Everybody makes testosterone at different levels. But if you have progesterone, you normally have progesterone if you're a pregnant female. But if we can, let's say you're about to go through puberty and you're transitioning from male to female, then we can give you progesterone and it will suppress the testosterone without any real harm damage. So the benefit of doing that is once you become 25, you already have your big hands, you already have your height, you already have your big feet, you already have your Adam's apple, you already have your strong jawline. So it really it can affect your ability for your body presentation to reflect your gender identity. So if you're, so and that creates stigma, that creates self-esteem issues, that creates a lot of problems down the road. Whereas we can always add testosterone later, always, right? So if we can just sort of suppress the testosterone from giving you a complete male puberty, and say, okay, well, we're going to hold off on any surgeries until we feel like you've gone through puberty. And because puberty, I don't know about you, but I did a lot of stupid things when I was in puberty.
Everyone did.
Yeah. So if you feel uncomfortable as a parent co-signing on a surgery and saying, hey, when you're an adult, you can do that, but in the meantime, we can suppress the testosterone in your system to stop the secondary sexual.
I kind of know about the early, onset of taking the pills and for boys, for a male, myself for a male, and to now you're 25 and you look just like a woman. That's not an issue. I just was asking about the transgender community and when they started that age, and you just giving me some more information. So I am just feeling a little bit more knowledgeable than I was a few seconds ago.
Yeah, well, because and it's shifting.
It's a very interesting process.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Answering that. Sorry, everyone. Thank you.
No, everybody is welcome to ask questions as long as it pertains to this, to the slide deck. One of the things that I want you guys to know about the transgender community and these terms and what have you, is it's still evolving and it's going to evolve. And as people play with their identity and try to figure out the right terms, you're going to hear more and more terms. So don't be put off by that as they come into your facility. Okay. All right. Transvestites and cross-dressers, also known as CDs. Get it? Cross-dresser, CDs. All right. So they're heterosexual straight men who dress in women's clothing and usually underwear for sexual gratification. So this is Eddie Izzard. He's a famous comedian in Britain who's openly transvestite and also will call himself transgender at times. He's a heterosexual man. He fancies girls, as he says, but he cross dresses to feel more close to women, as he says. Now, trans, like you're going somewhere, like transportation, you're transitioning. Like the trans actually makes it sound like you're going somewhere. You're going from one gender to another that's different than your anatomical sex. And if you're born as a female and then you transition to male, that's F to M. And if the reverse is male to female, which is M to F. Yeah. So they don't necessarily have to go through the sexual reassignment surgery, gender confirmation surgery, hormone replacement therapy for them to identify as transsexual, but they normally will live their lives with that confirming in that. Now, one of the problems that we have currently is that the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, still has transgender as a mental illness, as a gender identity disorder. So people who are, there's a fight within the transgender community. If it's in the DSM and it's a mental health issue, then you can get funding for it. You can get funding for it. So we can get funding for programs, we could get funding for individual therapy, we probably can get funding for actual hormones and all sorts of things, including steroids. So if we can get funding for it, maybe it's not so bad. The ends justify the means. But on the other side, it's so stigmatizing. And I'll be perfectly frank with you. Remember how we talked about your when you're going through puberty, you can it feels sometimes like you're going crazy, and you need a little help and be able to talk to people. Now, if you do that later on in life, if you do hormone replacement therapies later on in life, you're basically going through another puberty. So that can actually cause you to need more help and support.
More therapy.
Yeah, more therapy. So sexual reassignment, here's the terms up. So sexual reassignment surgeries, SRS, hormone replacement therapy, HRT, pre-op, before operation, post-op, after operation, pre-HO and post-HO, before hormones, after hormones. And if you're working with transgender populations, they may say, oh, my moans are working up, or, oh, I haven't taken my moans today. They're talking about hormones. All right, M to F, male to female, and F to M, female to male. Here's a couple famous transsexuals. We have Caitlyn Jenner. Now, the problem with Caitlyn is that she waited till she was 60. And so she, and she was a white male Republican for so long that when she transitioned, she didn't have any real concept of the challenges that often face the transsexual and transgender community. And so there was a disconnect. And also, I mean, you could be a Kardashian, you could be a transsexual, you could be an Olympic gold medalist, you could have just killed somebody with your car and gotten away with it and still have a boring show. So, and so it didn't help the situation that she had a boring show, and it didn't really answer a lot of questions and include a lot of people. On the right is Chaz Bono, formerly known as Chastity Bono. It's Sonny and Cher's daughter turned son. And this is him on Dancing with the Stars.
I got a question for you. Will them acronyms on that last slide that you just had, would that be on the
Yeah. Right here? Oh, you muted yourself.
Yes, them.
Yeah, right here.
All these will be on there because I didn't get a chance to put it down.
I don't think it'll be on the test, but these are all terms that are used within transgender community and transgender health.
Okay.
Can you bring it up just a little?
Can I
Can you pull the screen? There you go. There you go.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you.
I have a cool computer. Go lower.
It's a little bit too big.
Yeah, okay, so here.
Too large.
Now, also remember, sexual reassignment surgery is also called gender confirmation surgery. So if somebody says, I want to have gender confirmation surgery, they're saying the same thing as sexual reassignment surgery. What do we used to call sexual reassignment surgery?
Oh, no idea.
We used to call it a sex change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sex change. Yeah.
And then And then we have M to F and F to M, which is male to female and female to male.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Cool. Now, drag queens and female impersonators, you've seen them, and they're performers that are celebrating and making fun of gender, really. Because, ladies, do any of you wake up in the morning and you have this kind of skin and these kind of eyelashes and this kind of lips,
No.
hair? No, right? So in reality, this stuff that we associate with the female gender is a lie, right? Right?
No, it's the 1% of us.
Yeah. So
it's 1% of us that are like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, my point is that the hair and the makeup and the clothes and the jewelry and the high heels, those are all things that we have put on ourselves as gender, right? So drag queens and the female impersonators are celebrating that and also making fun of that at the same time. And it also lets them come out in a way that that creates a different persona. Oftentimes they're more fun and are able to have dirtier jokes or like RuPaul is able to let herself out. So here's RuPaul, both as a male in his regular life and as a female on the left. So see how this is a parody of Michelle and Barack Obama. Remember them? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So there's also drag kings, which are the reverse, where they're females that dress as men. They're not as fun, but they're really making statements about the gender inequality that happens with the sexism within our society. So they're usually performance artists, as you see here. And the extravagance of it is for entertainment purposes. Alrighty, genderqueer. We heard genderqueer in the video. Now, transgender, transitioning, transportation, trans makes it sound like you're going somewhere. So if, let's say you know that you don't identify as male in terms of gender and you don't identify as female in gender, but you don't feel like you're going to go anywhere with your gender, then you might say, this is who I am, and I'm not transitioning from one to another. And so that's where genderqueer comes in. You can say that you're bigender if you feel like you're both of them together. You might call yourself pan, which means all, pan gender. So you may feel like you're female, male, and F to M and F to M, M to F and F to M. Or you may feel like you're agender, or you don't have a gender at all, or you're genderless, that you don't identify with either of them. And sometimes you may feel like you're gender fluid, like Ezra Miller right here. You may remember him from the new Harry Potter movies, the Fantastic Beasts series. He's also the Flash more recently in the DC Comics movies. All right. In South Asia, Indian cultures, they have what's known as the third gender. And they feel a lot of cultures that have transgenders in their culture that are revered are usually revered as medicine men or shaman or spiritual guides. So third gender in South Asia is revered on that respect, but gay women and gay men are looked down upon and are discriminated against. So it can be, it's different from how our society is, where we're getting more used to gay lesbians and gays and bisexuals, but we're not as comfortable with transgenders. Now you might say you're gender non-conforming, where you just, I'm not conforming to any gender, I'm not committing to anything, I'm not non-binary, like Sam Smith. He said, I heard gender non-binary and it clicked. That sounded exactly how I felt. When he came out on the scene, he said he was a gay man, And as time went on, he realized gender non-binary sounds about right. So cisgender. Now, most of us are cisgender, where the gender that we that we feel we are matches our anatomical sex. So when you're working with somebody who in the transgender community or a transgender individual, and they talk about cisgenders, they're talking about people who their anatomical sex matches their gender identity. Okay. Two-spirit. In Native American cultures, First Nation cultures, Aboriginal cultures, two-spirit was actually just a general term, kind of like queer, for people who felt like they had a connection to the spirit world because they had such a fluid gender or fluid sexuality. All right, queer questioning. We're in the queues. So this is Margaret Cho, and she said, I went through this whole thing. Am I gay? Am I straight? And then I realized I'm just slutty. Where's my pride? Where's my parade? What about slut pride? And then later on, she said, well, I'm quattrosexual, because not only is she attracted to men and to women, she's attracted to transgenders, male to female and female to male. And then in about 2012, she came out as queer, just to cover everything. And some people will consider themselves pansexual, like Brandon Urie from the group Panic at the Disco. He considers himself pansexual, where he is open to all genders and sexually attracted to them all. All right. Intersex. Intersex. Intersex, we used to call it hermaphrodite, meaning Hermes and Aphrodite together. And I actually like that term better because I like Greek mythology. But intersex means that you are have both sets of genitalia or a combination thereof. So oftentimes it's a hypertrophied clitoris. You have a uterus and such. This is a cool case, so to speak. This is Rudy Alanes. He was a Gulf War veteran, and he was having cramps once a month. And the doctor finally did an ultrasound and said, dude, you have a uterus. You have an underdeveloped uterus and some ovaries. So it turned out that he was intersexed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you know, there's sometimes the ovo testes are fused or they're underdeveloped. They have microphalluses, which are micropenis, or a hypertrophied clitoris. And it's more common than you realize. It can be up to 1 in 1,000 births. Unfortunately, in most of our society, the doctor is allowed to do corrective surgery, oftentimes without discussing it with the parents. And so we don't have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have a lot of advocacy for the legal actions for intersex individuals, since it's a common practice within the American Medical Association. But later on in life, they go, oh, my gender doesn't match how I feel.
Exactly. A lot of them were born like that, but they were allowed as they became adults to, I know about this area, they were allowed as they became adults to pick and choose what they wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of parents just let it go, like, you know, they'll figure it out. That was the ignorance of before. And then I think doctors just decided that they would choose for them, which is really, to me, against the law.
Yeah.
I think that's against the law.
It should be. Yeah. It should absolutely be against the law. And the downside is that oftentimes they'll never know. They'll never know why that's the reason that they are so different from other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, asexual. When my friend in the 90s told me that she was asexual, I was like, wait, you can self-reproduce? because when you take biology, they say, oh, asexual organisms are able to reproduce asexually without a sexual partner. And so I actually visualized that she was intersexed and she was able to reproduce without any help. And so I put this up just in case you were like me in the 90s, that you took biology class and you hear asexual and you think that they're able to reproduce on their own. No, that's not what it means in this context. Asexual is somebody who their sexual orientation is not, that they're not sexually attracted to somebody else. This is David J. He started the AVEN network, which is the Asexuals Visibility and Education Network. He started it in San Francisco, and he didn't know anybody else who was asexual, so he just put a website online, and it went from having no members to within 10 years having 24,000 members. And unfortunately, when Kinsey and Masters and Johnson and even the surveys that we do for sexuality on like college campuses and stuff, they'll say, gay, bisexual, straight, but they won't put a marker for not sexually attracted to anybody. So this stuff goes under the radar for a long time. And when they did an 18,000 person survey in San Francisco, they got 1% of people consider themselves asexual. So that's pretty prevalent. All right. Now, do you? Oh, by the way, he has also a documentary called Asexual. It shows a lot of light of the history of his organization and how he's interacted with people, and so I do recommend it. Now, do you have to have an emotional connection to somebody to feel sexually attracted to them?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have to have a sexual attraction to somebody to have an emotional connection with them?
No.
No. Okay, so the reason I bring this up is that sex and intimacy and romance can be separated. So asexuals is actually another umbrella term. So it can be sexual attraction where they're completely asexual, they have no sexual attraction. Then there's people who consider themselves in the gray area, that they don't consider it a black or white issue, so they call themselves gray sexuals because they're in the gray area, but they don't have a lot of libido in terms of the sexual attraction of another person. And then there's demisexuals where they need to have emotional connection before the sexual attraction can take place. Now, one of my best friends, she's demisexual, and she was dating a guy this year, and the problem that she had was the timing that we have for romantic attraction and romantic love is, like 3 to 6 months, right? Everything after that is just intimacy and trying to keep the love alive and the heat going and the passion going. But the chemistry of the chemistry of falling in love usually is within that time period. So if you're a demisexual and you need to have a long period of becoming emotionally connected with somebody, that may mean that they have moved on in terms of romantic attraction and sexual attraction. So earlier I showed a slide of Lady Gaga, and she's bisexual. She is sexually attracted to males and females, but she's only romantically attracted to men, as she said. And at first, when she said that, I didn't quite get it. But as time went on and I learned more about romance versus sexual attraction, I do now. Now, romantic attraction, we have heteroromantic. So if you're romantically attracted to the opposite sex, homoromantic, same sex, biromantic, to males or females, panromantic, romantically attracted to anybody that you're attracted to, and then aromantic, that no, I'm not into it. Oh no, I don't want any romance. So this is an umbrella term, asexual, and it's evolving, and you may have clients who consider themselves asexual, and this is useful in letting them know that they're not alone. So demisexual have to have an emotional bond first. Okay, how much time do I have? Alrighty, guys. So thank you for your time. Hopefully, you guys, when the pandemic is over, you'll come to my LGBT class on discrimination in history, and I also have good classes on STDs and human sexuality and tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS. So, thank you guys for coming in. Are you guys done for the day?
You have a link.
Okay, so if go ahead and hit up Eric about that, all your paperwork, and if you are continuing on for the rest of the day, come back at 12:30. Or okay, so bye guys.
Do you have a
12:35?
12:35. I'm sorry, what, Victor?
Do you have a website or a link for your classes?
It's all with Smart Seminars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So hopefully you come on back.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Have a good
much
day,
for the
everyone.
education. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right, bye.
Have an awesome day.
Oh,
All
thank
right.